Welcome to Season 2 of the Generational Dental Wealth Show. Season 2 is all about increasing dental financial IQ. We do record these live in studio at Team Studios, so if you want to see the video format of this show, go ahead to Spotify or YouTube. Let's hop into it.
Welcome back to the Generational Dental Wealth Show. My name is Dr. Jermaine Affetti.
My name is Kingsley Affetti, CPA.
And we're back for part 2.
Oh, yeah.
Who we with today?
Who we with?
I'm Seyi Cadmus, D4 at Howard University.
All right. So we're going to hop into the financial side of things. Like, what does it look like now that you are D4? What's the next steps look like? And how can you start setting yourself up to create that generational dental wealth we like to talk about? So I guess my first question for you is, like, what do your post-dental school plans look like?
Okay, so just to clarify, I am looking into general dentistry. This is different depends on what you're looking into. If you're trying to specialize, it's completely different. But I'm just going to speak on what I'm trying to do. And with me, basically, I want to learn as much as I can this next couple of years. But I want to do it smartly. So I'm looking into residency, but I'm not just going to do residency just to do residency. Mm-hmm. I'm looking for a program that would actually teach me all the things I need to do, as well as give me the tools in order to live life. You know, so it's got to be paid. And also, I'm the type of guy where whatever I'm getting into, like before I moved to DC, I did research on everything basically. So right now, I'm researching where I'm possibly going to end up. You know, I'm looking at the cost of living, the areas, the lifestyle, basically, you know, how that fits into my goals and my vision and my mission. And that's a huge thing, you know, because everything plays an account, you know, when it comes to that.
Exactly.
The bills going to start coming through.
Exactly.
So I got to make sure I can sustain my lifestyle as well as, you know, moving forward. You know? So
that's key, because like I think sometimes we focus so much on production, think we can outproduce our financial problems. That's not true. I like that you're doing a lot of the legwork now to try to figure out where's going to be the best position for you next. And you're not just looking at, does this particular school have everything, right? You need to look at the holistically. Obviously, one of the things that's important to you is make sure you're compensated for the time that you're going to be spending there. That's important, right?
Absolutely.
Where you're going to be living. I mean, you've lived in D.C. for the last 4 years, so you know what it feels like to really take on the burden. D.C., for those who don't know, is top 2 most expensive cities to live in, them in San Francisco. So therefore, you're taking on incurring a lot of costs that are not associated directly with the particular career field you're in. So let me ask you this. Now that you are considering your next step, would you live in another big city like DC? Let me not even say like DC. Would you live in DC again?
No, absolutely not. And I love DC. I had some good times there, and there's no other city in this country like DC, honestly. But I've done it, and honestly, I am ready to. And here's the thing about DC that I'm gonna just be straight with y'all. The growth, and this is from my perspective. In order to grow, you have to be in an area where you're not overwhelmed by burdens such as cost of living. You know, like all these external taxes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
This is for me, you know.
Yeah.
And to find that in DC is very limited. So with me, I am ready to move on from there, and I'm looking to grow. I'm looking to grow as a dentist. I'm going to grow because I'm a brand myself.
Oh, yeah.
And in order to feed this, I can't be in an area where I'm just there just because I like living there.
Yeah.
Okay. So no DC.
You got to make some big financial decisions, you know, like, you know, just because you like something doesn't mean that it likes you financially. Yeah. So I like that decision. So now that you are considering next steps, right? Like, after you do finish your residency, if you decide to move towards that, is practice ownership something that you'll be interested in? And again, you have the right to change your mind. I want to preface whatever he says, he has the right to change his mind.
Yeah, exactly.
As of right now, no, but I never say never. I'm still learning, you know, I'm still learning the whole field of dentistry. Now that I'm kind of transitioning from like being a student to being a provider, there's a lot of things that I'm learning on a daily basis that I didn't know the day before. So I say that based on my knowledge being a student, based on the classes we took on practice ownership, and based on just what I see from the outside. But I never, and this is a huge thing in this field, you never want to limit yourself. That's part of why I'm doing the general dentistry. In the future, I'll be open to it if the opportunity comes and everything is aligned.
So so the door is not closed, but it's not necessarily open.
Exactly.
The door is the door.
Yeah. The door is the door. Yeah.
I got you. Okay. And the reason I asked that question is because how you answer that question is going to dictate how we move forward with the rest of this conversation, because there are ways to build wealth regardless. If you are a practice owner, if you are a long-time associate, if you are in a partnership, if you are public health, if you're academia, the strategy changes a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And one of the most important things that Kingsley and I talk about, especially when it comes to associates, is your decisions become bigger a little bit faster, if I'm going to say it that way, because when you're moving into practice ownership, you're moving to more of a delayed gratification, meaning that I can't make the big purchases now because I'm waiting to build up the capital. I'm waiting to preserve my credit for ownership. I'm waiting for a lot more things. But when you're in more of an associateship relationship, you actually have the freedom to start making bigger decisions earlier, right? But that makes those decisions even more important earlier, right? So, for instance, since practice ownership is not going to be where the wealth is going to lie, now we have to find more creative measures, right? Yeah. And one of the things we always talk about is the power of where you're going to live. So your first purchase of where you're going to live, your home, is going to be one of the most key decisions pivotally when it comes to the early foundation of your generational wealth, right? So for a practice owner, I'd be telling them, wait a little bit on the house because you need to worry more about the practice right now. Because once you get the practice, you can get everything else you want, right? Yeah. But when you're an associate, you have that opportunity to get the house earlier. But at the same time, that does not mean buy a house where you first associate.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Now it's going to be a little bit more strategy on where do I want to live short term versus where I want to live long term. So you don't have to say where, but are you starting to think about where you want to live long term, where you want to start putting down some roots? And again, you don't have to have the answer, but it's something that we start thinking about.
I'm definitely already thinking about it. Like I said, I've been doing research on. So basically, I'm going to be in the South. I do enjoy it because a huge thing for me is weather. I don't like the cold, man. I've lived in the North and I've lived in the cold. I don't like it, man. It's a huge thing for me. It makes a difference between, it's a motivation, really. You go out there, you got to shovel your way out. Yeah. So that's a huge thing for me. So I'm already looking, that narrows it down, Yeah. And so in terms of that, so the cost of living is also another big thing for me.
Okay.
I'm not a huge fan of huge cities. I like to visit them, and I've lived in them. So,
True.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. Basically, that's where I'm at right now.
I always share with just professionals in general, whether that's W-2 employees or dental practice owners. I like what you said earlier about you being a brand. At the end of the day, right, it is the things that you acquire outside of the clinical setting sometimes is what separates you from I'm making good money versus I'm building wealth, right? And I always share to many type of professionals, right? Even as an employee, you can still have other business endeavors that have nothing to do with dentistry, and I've seen that succeed a lot. Yeah. We just talked about getting your first home, right? Eventually, you may want to get a second home, or rental property.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I was actually going to talk about that. So I definitely know that I'm not just going to do dentistry.
Exactly.
I've always known that. It will, no matter what I get into, that's not all I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the kind of mindset I am. I'm huge on assets.
Yeah.
So basically, I believe, I'm a strong believer that in my life, I need to have more assets than liabilities.
Okay.
So because I say that because I am going to create a situation to where, yes, I have dentistry in my life, but in order to really create that generational, that next level, which is my goals, I don't want to just be working, Mm-hmm. I have to have other means of income, basically to basically pay for what I want to do.
For sure.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons that, and again, I do like the fact that you are thinking along the lines that you are a brand. And I think one of the slowest indicators that has not really caught up within dentistry, especially in an associate type relationships, is the fact that you are a brand.
Yep.
You have the ability to transform an
Yep.
entire practice. What I see very often, and it pains to see, is that I see individuals who are brands, who bring such a unique dynamic to a particular office, and XY group, XY DSO will know that, identify that in you, let you use your brand to build up their office, and then once the office is built up, drop your compensation. I've seen that personally. I've seen that. Okay, it's a nice gig because they want you to open up a new office for them, a new store for them. You go there, put your name on the glass window. You put your name on all the branding. Your face is on everything. You build it up. After 2 years, they drop the compensation. And I wish it was different from that. So instead, as you're building up the brand, you can now co-share in that and be able to enjoy the patient base that you worked on for years and years to come.
Exactly.
Build together.
That you can build together. But I just say, again, be cautious and wary about that, and make sure that the language in your contract, it protects you against that. Right? You can't stop everything, but you can protect yourself against things that are foreseen. So as you are building your brand, find ways to keep your brand yourself, right?
Yeah.
And so it can't be monetized in a way that you cannot share in that growth as well. Now, the next thing when it talks about, you're talking about assets, and for, King, if you can give a quick definition of an asset and a liability so that we can go a little bit deeper, because I want to touch on that a little bit. What's an asset?
Yeah, I mean, the most basic definition: assets put money into your pocket, liabilities take money out of your pocket. Just think about, people always say, is real estate an asset or liability? Well, it depends. Is that real estate? Is that house? Is it putting money into your pocket every month, or is it taking money out? Right. So, like I said, it can kind of vary, but that's just the most basic, simple definition.
So Kingsley is reading my mind when he talks about house. I didn't even know you were going to go there. But now that you bring that up, again, once you decide you want to be an associate, it's a fantastic way of doing things. And you have a fantastic line of credit available to you to make certain things happen. But now you have to figure out what kind of business do you want to be in if you know you want assets, right? If it's not dental assets, it has to be some type of asset, right? Yeah. So if real estate's possibly one, I'm not sure if it is or is not. The reason I say that, because you're going to have big decisions early when it comes to finances, but you got to do them right. Exactly. You can't necessarily choose your living situation that's not an asset if you want it to be an asset. Meaning that, again, we always hear about multifamily, right? But being a dentist, you have access to a doctor's loan. I'm not sure if you ever heard of it, but being a dentist, all you need is a contract in place, and they'll lend you up to whatever you need to get things done, up to $2 million, honestly, if everything is in alignment. So if you do get that opportunity, one thing I would personally advise you on is, as you're choosing your living situation, see where you can go ahead and get yourself a quadplex if possible, right? So now you got 3 other doors that are your associates. Yeah. Right. And those 3 other doors are kicking in an extra $1,000 or $2,000 into your pocket. So you're never truly dependent on those 2 hands right there. Right. But you're now starting to put those assets in place. And that's why I always say, it doesn't matter if you're going to be an associate, you're going to be an owner. What's your strategy? Yeah. It doesn't matter. But like, if you're trying to be an associate and play a owner strategy, that's not going to work. If you're an owner trying to play an associate strategy and you're not investing into your business, that's not going to work. Yeah. So the sooner you determine what your strategy is going to be, now you can start figuring out how can you accumulate your assets through the generational dental wealth that you're able to now provide.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of like part of the reason why I'm here. I kind of wanted to talk about that with y'all, because y'all have that knowledge, especially when it comes to being a dentist and just going through that and basically developing a strategy to accomplish your goals. Yes. Because I have a lot of things that I want to do in this life. Yeah, but part of growing up is you can't just do things based on how you feel. Like I want to go buy that house right there. I want to go buy that Ferrari. The Ferrari's coming. Amen. Amen. But there's a certain way and time and place to do things. So I want to ask you a question, both of y'all. What would you think would be a good way to strategize getting the goals, basically getting to, generating all the assets. And
I guess I'll touch on it, and Doc, I'm sure you'll have more to add on
Yes,
it.
sir.
I guess to your point, the Ferrari is always coming. It's just the order in which you get it. I personally believe as a CPA, when I advise my clients, I say, instead of you putting $100,000 towards this, depreciating vehicle, why don't you go purchase $100,000 asset and let that asset now pay down that car. Mm-hmm. So it's not saying don't enjoy life, right? We all have enjoyment, right? But before you go make that big purchase, why not make a why not make a purchase that will end up paying for that big purchase? And whether that's rental property.
Would you say that it's better to have multiple, maybe like micro assets to kind of like generate the income in order to pay for your liabilities, basically?
Yeah. I think so. Reason being, right, and a lot of people, right, they always say, oh, well, what the people have 7 streams of income, but most people make their money in one of them, and then they diversify.
Yeah,
so many people try to diversify into all these different industries. They do this, do that, and they never gain traction in one industry. They spread themselves out so thin. So, I always advise, just create your wealth strategy. Some people don't want to be landlords. Some people don't want to deal with fixing broken toilets and getting calls at
there's the other aspect of it, which is time.
Yeah. Exactly. You might not have that. So some people say, I want to go into paper assets, stocks, bonds. I want it to kind of work for me, even if it's, something that's outside of my control, right? The stock market. I'd still put it there because now I don't have to worry about it as much. Right. So what do you have to add to that, Doc?
I agree 100%. It just, again, I always want to say, what kind of assets do you want to be in?
Yeah.
Are they dental assets? Then there's going to be ownership. If it's real estate assets, you're going to be a landlord. If it's paper assets, then you got to go get stocks, you got to get bonds. The reason I ask is because, like, what is going to be the strategy? And people think, like, you got to do amazing things to get to that point of generational dental wealth. And really, it's not that. It's consistency.
Small.
It's figuring out what you're going to do and working that plan and adjusting with professionals or whoever's in your corner, right, to help you get to that particular point. And the reason I'm saying this is so important for you right now, because as a D4, you're at a very open time right now where either leeches can come in and push their products on you, or you can put yourself in an advantageous position by making the early decisions right. And when it comes to finances, again, the most important thing you have, the most important asset you have is time.
Yeah.
So the sooner you start making the important decisions early, the longer they're going to compound. So I'll be very excited, but also very, very cautious at where you are right now.
Yeah.
Once you decide where you want to live or whatever you want to do, if I'm giving personal advice to you, do you mind being a landlord? You don't want to be a landlord. It's okay.
I would rather not.
Okay.
To be honest with you.
No, I'm with it. Listen, choose your battle. I'm fine with being a landlord, right? But it's not for everybody, right? Because I see this stuff sometimes I got to deal with, or sometimes my team got to deal with. So it's not for everybody. So if you don't want to be in dental assets and you don't want to be a landlord, I'll be trying to figure out what are other businesses you can possibly partner up with. Mm-hmm. That's definitely something big. Just being very open to see, is there anybody around me in my circle who might just need cash infusions that I can help them work their plan a little bit.
Yeah.
As well as I would come up with a strategy. Definitely sit down with either your CPA or your financial advisor and try to figure out, how can I start siphoning off pieces of every single one of my checks to make sure I'm starting to get into either the stock market or something similar to it that does not require my time, that can start growing early, right? Build. If I can start, let's say if your first contract is, let's call it 150, how can I take a third of that? Because if I know I'm not going to have these other type of assets, I got to be very aggressive with my income. How do I take a third of that and make sure that third is always going to be growing?
Yeah. And I don't mean to steal the show.
No,
I personally know multiple dentists that are no longer practicing for whatever reason or another. It could be due to illness, could be due to different situations, but they always had other assets that were working for them. You know what I mean? Yeah. So a lot of people, okay, what is it? Life and disability and all these, which is good. right? But you never want to put your family in a situation where the biggest asset your family has right now is this dentistry, and if that's taken away, what are the other options, right? And it's not to say, right?
That's like my main thing. You
Exactly.
know? Like I love dentistry. Don't get me wrong, but like I've always seen myself not putting like everything in one basket.
Yeah.
That's just me personally.
Exactly.
I like to do multiple things, but not necessarily like manage, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, like I just like to. I want to be able to spread, give back is huge for me too as well. You know, but I like to be able to like create opportunities and kind of like just spread my blessing. You know, like help people out and
The most important thing for you is you're gonna have to start building a team. Based off of what I'm hearing you say, you're gonna have to start putting together a team of people who can work the plan while you're doing more like big picture thinking, if that makes sense, right? So you're gonna have to start identifying the skill set and the people that are around you who enjoy doing the day-to-day part of things, right?
Yeah.
And again, you're gonna have to start looking at yourself as more of like the bucket that pours into cups, if that makes any sense at all.
That's such a good and in my mind, you know, that's exactly what I was thinking about. I just didn't know how to, this guy's good with words.
Come on, man.
Good, man.
He be doing spoken word.
Man, come on. Keith, you got any final questions before we wrap this thing up? Man, this was fun.
Man, nah. I mean, for the most part, biggest takeaway is that you are not waiting for life to come to you, right? You're trying to think of new ideas to kind of be more than the clinician. And every dentist that I've been around that is highly successful understands that.
Yeah.
That at the end of the day, you know, just because you have those first, you know, two letters before your name does not necessarily change the overall outcome sometimes, right? You still have to be financially aware, at least know what are your strong suits, what are you good at, what do you don't want to do. And like Doc said, right, thinking of new ideas. Maybe I have to build a team, or maybe I don't like being a landlord. Maybe I do like leading a team or whatever like that. So, I mean, my biggest takeaway from this episode, man, was just, you know, you just being proactive in this wealth building process and not just waiting on life to come to you, man. So.
Right, and with caution too, like you said, you know, because this time is huge. I wanna be proactive, but I also feel like I don't want to make the decisions that would set me back.
Set you back, exactly.
So it's huge. A lot of information.
Man,
I really
no doubt.
You guys are very knowledgeable. You're much better at speaking than I am.
Nah, man, you're great. You're great.
You're fantastic, man. You got any closing words for everybody out there?
Yeah, no, I just want to talk to whoever is like just getting into this dental journey, or if you're going through it as an underclassman or anything. Just remember to just keep an open mind. If things don't work the way exactly as you see it, it's not the end of the story. Just keep chipping at it. Just keep going. You know, sometimes it's just some days where I'm like, "Where's the light?" You know. Yeah. But you gotta have faith. You gotta keep the good people around you that are there to uplift you instead of drain you. And just have faith and just keep pushing.
It's good, man.
Yeah. Beautifully said, man. Thank you for joining us on the Generational
having me,
Dental Wealth Show.
Yeah.
See you next week. Peace.
See you.
Yeah.
Peace.
See ya.